I am Professor L.B.Gayakawad. Today, I am discussing on the topic of the Happy New Year. Remember, this day, today is the day of the Happy New Year. On this day, we all are very happy. We are enjoying this day very nicely. There are many people who are coming together and they are celebrating this day. No doubt at all. We should celebrate this day because this is the day of our happiness. But remember, on this day, we should know, we should think that of the thought which we spent with our last year. Remember, we must be very much unhappy because we have left 1 year of our life. Because this life has experienced the goodness or badness with the year which has gone out. And that's why we should express here the saddest song on the life of the year which we have experienced. Remember, it is very clear that man is always alone. Remember, man is always alone. And the final truth of man's life is only zero. Means man's life is nothing. Remember. So always this man is alone. While celebrating this Happy New Year, we should think of our last year. How was our last year? How we spent our last year? And what did I do with this last year? Or what I experienced with this year? So this is today the day of celebrating the Happy New Year. But this is the same day on which we should think of our mistakes which we did in the last year. Because every day is the day of guidance to us. Every moment is very much important for us because that moment gives us the particular thinking of living our life. And that's why here, though we are very happy with this year, though we are welcoming this 2024, we should think of our 2023 also. Because this 23 has gone out of our life. It has now died. It is not there. It will not again come into our life. That's why this year is very much important. As the member of our family is very important in our life, in the same way this year is very important for our life. So we should think of this life. Because this year, the last year, I am talking about the last year, this last year has gone into the past. And this last year has now become dead. So we should express the sad song, the dirge on the life of this last year. That is the important thing. Because one member of our family, the member of our world has gone out of our life. And that's why it is our duty to express some sadness on the death of our last year. Why? I will say, man's life is final. Man is alone. Remember, always man is alone. And this man becomes old like the last year, because the last year became old. and the last year went out of our life and we are enjoying it. We have to think over some problems that uh, how the problems were there in our life in the last year. What can be the solutions over these problems? We should think of all these things. So my point is that man's final truth is only death. Because this man has come into this life upon this earth only for doing his welfare, only for doing the welfare of the society, only for doing the welfare of his people around him. After all, man's tragedy is very much serious. How? I will say today, I will talk today about the final truth of man. What is the final truth of man? Remember, the final truth of the man is very serious. Actually, man is alone when he becomes old. No one cares this man in his oldness. He gets dead inside. He feels God should call him as early as possible. Remember, why this man says that God should call him as early as possible? Because he becomes old. His total body is tired, and that's why his total body becomes very much difficult for him to carry from this place to the second place. And that's why he feels that the God should call him as early as possible because he demands the death. As our last year just has gone, this is the first day of the new year, and yesterday we were there in the last year. The last year has become very happy because this last year now will not come again into our life because one member of our family has gone out. He has gone, I will say, into heaven. In the same way, when man becomes old, his body does not support him, and that's why this man demands death to God. God, please take me as early as possible because there is no one to care me. All close relatives of this man go away from him when he is alone, when he is old. His close relatives have no interest in him and in his oldness. Can you say, can you feel really that these people have the interest in the oldness, in the old person? No, not at all. His close relatives, his close sons and daughters, even they don't have the time of looking after this old gentleman, and that's why this is the reality of man's life, and that's why how can we celebrate this year? That is the problem according to me. Next, I will say close relatives leave him to death. Remember, close relatives leave him for death, leave him towards the death. Means they do not care him. They feel that he should die because according to them, he is not useful. According to them, he is useless. Now it is not necessary because the sons and daughters become rather, I will say, eldest, and they look after all the activities of the families, and that's why they also don't need his old father, old mother. That is the point. But this old man never dies. Remember, this old man says again and again to God that, please God, take me to you, because nobody is there to care me. But he never dies. Because remember, everything is there in the hands of man, but death is not there in the hands of man. We can win, we can prevail, we can conquer everything, but we cannot conquer the death. That is the important thing, and that's why this man never dies and is dead in the thinking only. Remember, this old man is not dead. God does not take him to him. This gentleman is there in some room alone. Nobody is there. Nobody is carrying him. And he is alone there somewhere on the cot or somewhere in the corner. Nobody is there to care him. No person is appointed to care him. And there are many wounds. There are many problems in his body. There are many, I will say, X in his body. But nobody cares him. And that man is there like the skeleton. And that skeleton is thinking there only. Means that old man becomes the home, becomes the house of thinking only. Remember, what is the use of that man? So it is the Happy New Year today, and it is the best day for us that we should think that one day we will be old. Like this year. This year has gone out of our life. In the same way, one day we will be old and we will be out of this year, and nobody will be there for caring for us, because we are not caring. The last year we are not making any kind of sorrow. We are not making any kind of sadness for the last year, but we are very happy to welcome only the next year. Means only the new year. Means we are making adjustment with the year which is now useful for us. That is the important thing. Means in our life there is no value to the dead person, and that's why our last year is dead, and we have no any kind of I will say we have no any kind of to do with this last year. But remember, we will also be one day an old person, or we will be also the old persons, and in this way we will be also out of this society like this last year, like this 2023 year. And the next point is, when he dies, remember the old man, just I am talking about the story of the old man. When the old man dies, no one goes with him. Remember, when the old man dies, no one goes with him, as we have not gone with the last year, because just the last year has gone into the past, but we have not gone to this year. So in this way, the old man was there in the family and he died, but nobody went with him. The old man alone went. Close relatives returned from cemetery. Remember, only these persons who were the sons and daughters, who were very, very closer, they went only to the cemetery where he was burnt out, where he was kindled. But they did not remain there, they did not sit there, they did not stop there for 2 years or for 3 years, for 2 months. They just came, and his body burns only in the cemetery. Remember, this is the final truth of man. Nobody Nobody stops there. But the body of that man burns in the cemetery. His death rites are completed. Then what happens, The man's body burns in the cemetery, and then the persons celebrate his, I will say, rites, and the rites of his death are completed, celebrated only. Then what happens? Close relatives go away permanently. Remember, the closest son, the closest daughter, the closest relatives who had come to celebrate his death funeral, those persons have gone away now from this old man. Now there is no old man. They have gone away and they have forgotten the old man. Now the old man is the cemetery. There is no old man in the family. And the old man is hung in a photo on a wall. Means in the wall. I will say, sorry, on the wall. I will tell you, on the wall, they frame that person, that old man's photo is framed and is hung on the wall. This is the reality of man's life. And we people are celebrating today the new year. We are not making any kind of sorrow for the last year. That is the main thing which I want to express here. No one has time to look at this photo. Remember, the photo of that old man is there on the wall, but no one has the time to look at this photo, because when that old man was there in the family, no one was caring him, but now there is the photo and nobody is looking that photo, or nobody is looking at that photo. That is the reality of man's life. The next close to him also gets old. What happened then? The old man who was there in the family, he died, and then the second number came. Means his biggest son again became old, and he was thinking of his death, and he was also calling God, God, please take me to you. God, please take me to you. But the God was not taking him, because what he did on this earth, he had to pay for that. He has to pay for that, because he did a good work or he did a bad work. He has to give. He has to pay for those moments. He has to pay for those ideas, those stories which he made. If he makes sin, then he has to complete. He has to pay here for that. And that's why the eldest son of that old man now becomes old, and he is very near to the death. So remember, the final truth of man's life is only death. The same incident occurs, and the close also one day dies. Remember, the son of that old man also died. What is the life of man? So we can say, what is the life of man? The old man died, then his son also died. Why should man not think of this life? So we should think of this life. We should think of this, why this is happening. Why this old man died? What was happened to this man? What was there with this man that this man died, and then again his son died? So remember, this is the final truth of man's life. He should live only for man. So the message today we should take, and that message is, man should live for man. Man should do humanity with man. He should not, means man should not have ego of his money. Remember, man should not have the ego of his money. The man should not have the ego of his property, because the property remains here and only the man goes into the cemetery, and there is no person, because in the cemetery also everything is cemented there, everything is rubbed there, no man is there, no memory is there, no I will say no clue of that man is there. And that's why, what is the use of this money, and why should man think of this money? Because his all money remains at home. His all money remains at home, and man goes out, man dies, and his money remains here with his sons, and again his sons one by one dies. That is the reality of this man. Close relatives enjoy the estate without taking his name. Remember, the old man died, his son also died. So the close relatives enjoyed that estate very nicely, but nobody pronounced the name of the person who were dead. So that is the reality of this man. If this is the final truth, remember what I am telling you, if this is the final truth, why man should make difference with man? That is the important point. Remember, if this is the reality, if this is the final truth of man's life, then my point is that why man should make difference with man? Why should man not think of man? So that's why man should think of man. Man should behave culture. Man should behave humanity, and man should do a great type of activities that every day his relatives will remember him. That is the main point. All should think of this final truth. My point is that all should think of this final truth, because the final truth of man is only death. So everything of his death remains on his karmas, on his duties, what he did in his life. If he has done good in his life, then everybody will pronounce his name. And if he has done only sins, he has done only bad activities, nobody will take his name, or nobody will pronounce his name. And that's why now, today, though it is the Happy New Year, though it is the beginning of the next year, it is also the beginning of the man. He should think that what will happen with me, and what is the use of this enjoyment, and what is the use of this money. Why should I not think of my friends? Why should I not think of my relatives? Why should I not think of the humanity? So with this, I will stop here. How you felt this, I will say, video, my thoughts, you should give me in the comment box. Till then, I stop here. Thank you very much.